Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Shan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. All-party delegation meets in Delhi to discuss future plans for Jammu and Kashmir. Army chief to review security situation in the state as 4 people are injured in fresh clashes in the Anantnag district. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Vientiane for the 14th ASEAN-India Summit, meets Japanese Premier Shinzo Abe as the first of several bilateral meetings scheduled on the sidelines of the summit. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley says procedural formalities on ratifying goods and services tax regime are in full swing, calls the April 1st implementation target a stiff one but worth a try. And Karnataka obeys Supreme Court order, starts releasing 10,000 cusecs of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu per day. State government to approach Apex Court to modify directive. Our top story this evening, the all-party delegation which visited Jammu and Kashmir this week has once again appealed for calm in the state. The delegation has asked the centre and the state governments to take steps to initiate a dialogue with all stakeholders, but asserted that there can be no compromises on the issues of national sovereignty.
The members of the delegation are of the opinion that there is no place for violence in a civilized society and that there can be at the same time no compromise on the issue of national sovereignty.
2 days after its return from Jammu and Kashmir, the all-party delegation once again appealed for an end to the cycle of violence in the state. Taking stock of its interactions with various sections during its 2-day visit, delegation members reiterated the need to resolve all issues through dialogue and discussion. It has also asked the government to undertake some confidence-building measures.
इस समस्या को हल करने के लिए एक ड्यूअल ट्रैक अप्रोच अपनाना चाहिए। एक ट्रैक है आपको सबसे पहले लोगों के अंदर कॉन्फिडेंस जताने के लिए, उनके अंदर जो अलगाव का जो फीलिंग जो बढ़ा हुआ है उसको कम करने के लिए कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर्स आप लागू करिए।
जब तक वैली में जो पॉलिटिकली अपना एक शक्ति रखते हैं, कुवत रखते हैं, बगैर उनको पूछे या बगैर सलाह उनका लिए आगे बढ़ना भी बड़ा मुश्किल होगा।
स्थिति को सामान्य करने के लिए मूल भूमिका प्रांतीय सरकार का है और हमारा आशा है कि हम देखेंगे कि वो जो कदम उठाए उससे समस्या हल होगा, स्थिति सामान्य होगा। केंद्रीय सरकार का काम होगा प्रांतीय सरकार को मदद करना।
The delegation also requested the government to take effective steps to ensure security for all citizens and provide medical treatment to citizens and security personnel injured in the agitation. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's go across to our correspondent Vishal. There has been tracking the story. Vishal, there seems to be consensus amongst all political parties that peace needs to be brought into Kashmir at whatever pace and at whatever cost. But in terms of moving forward from here, what do we see?
Well, yes, there is a consensus of sorts between all the members of that all-party delegation. And today's meeting was more or less sort of a get-together to take stock of what exactly transpired for the 2 days the all-party delegation was in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And that statement which has come out after that meeting is a statement of intent, and that statement clearly once again reiterates 2 things basically. One, appeals to the people of the state in Jammu and Kashmir to shun violence, to participate in the process of dialogue, and then it also exhorts the governments, both the centre and the state, to take all measures specifically have dialogue with all the stakeholders, even those who have refused to talk during those 2 days when some of the separatist leaders were approached by some members of the all-party delegation. They had refused to meet them, have a dialogue with them. But in this particular meeting, the members of the all-party delegation, specifically those who had gone and met, tried to meet rather those separatist leaders, have once again reiterated that the government should continue its efforts to have a dialogue with the separatist leaders and all other stakeholders as well. There's one more important point out here, and that is a suggestion which has come in that normalcy should be restored and an effort should not be made only by the citizens and only by making, but also the government should take one more step ahead, ensure that all institutions, for example, the educational institutions, the financial institutions, and other bodies out there should be functioning normally. And the use of force by the security forces should be minimized, something which has already been agreed to by the government. And as we all know, that pellet guns have been replaced by the power shells and other measures which can be taken by the security forces to try and contain the protests which are still ongoing. So clearly, this is sort of a reiteration of what the members of the all-party delegation have been saying so far. They've spoken to several representatives and several individuals in both Jammu and Srinagar for those 2 days. And this is a clear indication that all political parties now want the centre and the state to take some confidence building measures to move one more step further and not being deterred by the very fact that there are some separatists who do not want to have a dialogue.
All right, Vishal, there we'll leave it there, but thank you very much for coming in and updating us on what could be the moving forward story behind this. Now, moving on, fresh clashes broke out in North and South Kashmir today, even as normal life remained disrupted for the 61st day in a row due to the ongoing curfew. In the Anantnag district, 4 people were injured in an attack between protesters and security forces. Elsewhere, 3 soldiers were injured in an attack on an army convoy in the Tralgund area of Kupwara district.
At least 4 people were injured in fresh clashes with security forces in South Kashmir's Anantnag district on Wednesday. According to sources, a violent clash broke out when security forces tried to stop a protest rally in the district. In another incident, 3 army jawans were injured in a militant attack on an army convoy in North Kashmir's Kupwara district. The incident took place when some militants indiscriminately opened fire on the convoy that was heading towards Handwara district. The group immediately fled the scene. Security forces cordoned off the area. Search operations are on to nab the militants. Meanwhile, normal life remained affected in the valley as curfew was reinforced in parts of Srinagar. Restrictions on the assembly of people also remained in force to maintain law and order.
ये लगातार चल रहा है कि आर्मी पे हमले हो रहे हैं, क्रॉस बॉर्डर फायरिंग हो रही है, पठानकोट पे हमला हो रहा, कश्मीर में आतंकवाद भयानक बढ़ रहा है, तो ये तो बहुत बुरा हाल है। आज 64 दिन हो गए कर्फ्यू लगे हुए, तो हालात बहुत खराब है, सरकार संभाल नहीं पा रही है। इसलिए सिर्फ बातें हैं, भाषण हैं, और भाषण और बातों से जो इस सरकार के मंत्री करते हैं, कुछ नहीं होना जाना।
The Hurriyat Conference said the tough steps being mulled by the centre against separatist leaders is an attempt to mislead people. He asked the centre to come out with details of the favours extended by it. On Tuesday, the centre issued a statement announcing that it was considering a cut in the funds spent on separatists.
सरकार वही कार्रवाई करेगी जो राष्ट्र हित में होगा। किसी का नाम लेने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। सरकार कार्रवाई किसी के खिलाफ भी करेगा तो देश हित में करेगा।
BJP PDP alliance, they committed in writing in their 11-page document of agenda for alliance to talk with all people irrespective of their political ideologies, all stakeholders in Jammu Kashmir, which includes the Hurriyat. That was the PDP demand. But they never allowed the government to act on it.
Indian government, Indian democracy, Indian civilization has survived only through the art of listening and conversation. And I would rather advise them to think twice before going for these kind of reaction, which is fundamentally knee-jerk and which is not going to help the cause in the valley as far as restoration of normalcy is concerned.
75 civilians have been killed so far and more than 10,000 have been injured in the ongoing unrest over the killing of separatist militant Burhan Wani in July. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The ASEAN leaders held talks with the international dialogue partners on the day of the summit. South China Sea dispute and security threat posed by North Korea were the highlights of the discussion. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the Laos capital to attend the 14th ASEAN-India summit. He is scheduled to have several bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit.
On the second day of the ASEAN summit, the 10-nation bloc held talks with international dialogue partners. The South China Sea territorial dispute topped the agenda, with ASEAN leaders urging China to follow international laws in resolving the dispute. The meeting came hours after Philippines released pictures of what it said were Chinese boats near a disputed shoal in the region.
The issue of the South China Sea was mentioned during the ASEAN-China dialogue just earlier, but that what was underlined by countries like Singapore, the Philippines, was the importance of the rule of law and adhering to international bodies that govern this.
However, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang told leaders that the issue shouldn't overshadow the main relations between the regional bloc.
始终视东盟为维护地区和平稳定、促进区域一体化和世界多极化发展的重要力量。
The security threat posed by North Korea was also raised at the summit. Japan and South Korea asked leaders to stand as one to counter it. North Korea had provoked earlier this week by firing 3 ballistic missiles into the sea.
戦のミサイル能力は地域の安全保障に対する深刻な脅威であります。北朝鮮の相次ぐ挑発行動に対し、国際社会は断固たる対応を取るべきであり、安保理手続きの厳格な履行等を通じ、圧力を強化すべきであります。
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also arrived in Vientiane to attend the 14th ASEAN-India Summit and the 11th East Asia Summit. During his 2-day visit, Prime Minister will meet counterparts from the 10 ASEAN countries. He will also hold bilateral talks with leaders of Japan, South Korea and Myanmar. Issues such as maritime security, terrorism, economic and socio-cultural cooperation will be on the agenda of the talks. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Back, you're watching the news at 6. Now, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said that the government is running against time for the implementation of the GST by its deadline of April 1st, 2017. Jaitley said the formalities of collecting proceedings from all the states and sending it to the President for ratification are on. The Constitution Amendment Bill will be notified once the President gives his assent, and any pending issues regarding the bill will be resolved by the Council. Jaitley also added that the passage of the central laws, IGST and GST Bill, are among the most important economic legislations for the government during the winter session.
Central legislature will also have to pass 2 important laws in relation to the GST itself and the interstate GST bill itself. I think these are amongst the important economic legislations. But more important, along with these legislations, I think if you ask me in terms of economic priorities even outside Parliament, I would say that certainly implementation of the GST is the top priority.
The backlash of the Apex Court's directive on the Kaveri water sharing was felt in Karnataka for the second consecutive day on Wednesday. Protests were held in several districts, including state capital Bengaluru. Farmers have warned of severe agitations if the release of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu isn't stopped. Karnataka began releasing 10,000 cusecs of water to neighbouring Tamil Nadu late Tuesday night, a move that has intensified the ongoing protests.
Protests intensified in Karnataka on Wednesday, hours after the state released 10,000 cusecs of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. Agitated farmers blocked major roads and highways for the second straight day. Schools and colleges were also forced to shut down. In Mandya, a farmer tried to attempt suicide against the release of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu. Authorities rushed him to the hospital in time and he was saved. A massive protest was also organized in state capital Bengaluru, where protesters burnt effigies of Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and his Tamil Nadu counterpart J. Lalita.
ಸುಪ್ರೀಂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರತಕ್ಕಂತ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕವಾಗಿಂದ ಕೂಡಿದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅದರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಮೊದಲು ಹೋರಾಟ, ಎರಡನೇದು ತಮಿಳುನಾಡು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಭ್ರಷ್ಟ ಡಿಕ್ಟೇಟರ್ಶಿಪ್ ಏನಿದೆ, ಸರ್ವಾಧಿಕಾರ.
ಅವ್ರ ಬೆಳೆಗೆ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ, ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ಕುಡಿಯಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ನೀರು ಬಿಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ತಮಿಳುನಾಡು ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರು ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು, ಅದು ಖಂಡನೆ ಮಾಡಿ.
Political parties also called for a shutdown in the state. Opposition leaders accused the government of not representing its case efficiently in the court.
अपना स्टेट का फार्मर्स को जस्टिस मिलना चाहिए, उसका बारे में अपना सरकार भी सोचना चाहिए. आजकल बहुत से आज क्या ये लोग ऐसा कर रहे हैं, इसको अपन कंडे नहीं, ये तो नहीं होना चाहिए.
Main problem is that there are lots of shortcomings in the tribunal award, the Kaveri Water Tribunal Award. Until those shortcomings are going to be removed, this problem is not going to be settled. So that is the major demand of the people of Karnataka, and I hope the Honorable Supreme Court will hear it.
On Tuesday night, Karnataka released 10,000 cusecs of Kaveri water to Tamil Nadu following the Supreme Court's directive. The state government, however, has decided to approach the Apex Court with a modification petition explaining its difficulties in implementing the order. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more national news stories now nationwide. The ruling TRS in Telangana today rejected Union Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu's suggestion to officially celebrate Hyderabad Liberation Day on the 17th of September. The party accused the BJP of trying to indulge in divisive politics. MP Kalvakuntala Kavita said moderate Telangana people do not believe in the Liberation Day. We believe in a day where Telangana state was merged into the Indian Union. The Supreme Court today refused to grant protection from arrest to music composer Vishal Dadlani for allegedly making scathing remarks against Jain monk Tarun Sagar. The Apex Court also declined Dadlani's prayer for quashing of FIR lodged against him in Haryana, saying he could approach the concerned High Court. India and 23 other Indian Ocean countries began tsunami mock drill to test warning and detection systems. The mock drill will include warning systems starting from tsunami detection and forecast, threat evaluation and alert formulation to dissemination to public and their awareness and responses. This exercise involves evacuation of around 35,000 people from coastal regions of India. CBI has charged Hindu Jan Jagruti Samiti member Virendra Singh Taure with conspiracy and murder in connection with the murder of rationalist Narendra Dabholkar in 2013. The Samiti is allegedly linked with the Sanatan Sanstha, which had come under the scanner for the murder of another rationalist, Govind Pansare, in February 2015. The 29-hour countdown for the launch of ISRO's advanced weather satellite INSAT 3DR on board GSLV F-05 commenced at 11 a.m. today. The liftoff is scheduled to take place from the second launch pad at the spaceport of Sriharikota. GSLV F-05 is the flight in which indigenously developed cryogenic upper stage will be carried on board for the fourth time during a GSLV flight. Some international news now, and the US presidential campaigners shifted gears this week. turning their focus on national security. Both Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump claimed that they were the fittest candidates to take on the Islamic State and tackle the question of the refugees fleeing the Middle East.
The US presidential campaign's focus has shifted to national security. On Tuesday, Democrat Hillary Clinton claimed she was the candidate to take on the Islamic State, while Republican Donald Trump pledged to help female veterans and deal with both Islamic State and the flood of refugees leaving Middle East.
This November, the American people have a big choice to make when it comes to national security. On the one hand, we have Donald Trump, who has called the American military a disaster, who disrespects our military leaders by saying, and I quote, "I know more about ISIS than the generals do."
We are going to solve the ISIS problem, but we have to also get back, and we have to solve it big league and strongly and swiftly. But we have to get back to rebuilding our country, because our country is going to hell.
Florida and Virginia are considered swing states that could play a pivotal role in the outcome of the November election. Both Clinton and Trump addressed military veteran supporters there.
When it comes to fighting ISIS, he has been all over the map. You would have to literally map it out. He's talked about letting Syria become a free zone for ISIS. Look at the map, Donald. He's talked about sending in American ground troops. Not on my watch. That is not what we are going to do.
They're in the process of doing some unbelievable things, believe me. I mean, they're very belligerent. They have no respect for our country, none whatsoever. And we have a situation that's a potential catastrophe. We have somebody that truly does have nuclear and nuclear capability.
Trump criticized the Obama administration's handling of North Korea and what he called their developing nuclear program.
We have a man who is, I mean, he's took over 25 years old, I guess, or around then, and now it looks like he's getting more and more hostile. And what I would do very simply is say, China, this is your baby, this is your problem, you solve the problem. China can solve that problem.
Trump also compared Hillary Clinton to German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her policy to admit refugees fleeing turmoil in the Middle East.
Look, she's a disaster in so many different ways, folks. Disaster. I don't really even think she believes it herself. You know, she was brought so far left. She was brought so far left by Bernie and the group, and I think we're going to get a lot of the Bernie people because of trade, if you want to know the truth. A lot of the Bernie people are coming with us.
The audience also saw a new television advertisement showing veterans and their families reacting to statements that Trump had made about national security. On Wednesday, Clinton and Trump will take part in a televised forum on national security sponsored by a veterans group. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some international news now in Global Buzz. The Islamic State group has reportedly issued an order banning security checkpoints in the city of Mosul in Iraq. Recent killings of Islamic State commanders by veiled women have forced the terror group to make an exception to the strict dress code for women. Hungarian prosecutors on Wednesday filed charges against a camerawoman accused of kicking and tripping migrants who were fleeing police near the southern border of Serbia last year. Petra Laszlo, who was fired from her job after the video footage spread online appearing to show her kicking a girl and a man. Her prosecution for disorderly conduct comes as political tensions mount over Europe's migration crisis in the region. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull called the threat of a terror attack in Australia real after the so-called Islamic State group urged followers to target Sydney's beachside, Bondi and Melbourne cricket ground. In retaliation to the so-called lone wolf attackers, Turnbull said some individuals could be radicalized very quickly and engage in very destructive, lethal conduct. Kyrgyz authorities have identified the organizers of the terrorist attack on the Chinese embassy in capital Bishkek last week. Kyrgyzstan says the attack was organized by the Uyghur terrorist groups active across Syria. The suicide bomber was a member of the terrorist group East Turkestan Islamic Movement. The car bomb killed the lone assailant and injured 5 security personnel and staff. In Syria, government forces have been accused of using a helicopter to drop 2 barrel bombs loaded with chlorine gas on residents in the eastern city of Aleppo. According to the Syrian Civil Defense Group, around 80 people suffocated in the attack. However, no deaths have been reported so far. The Syrian government has denied any involvement. Some sports now, and first up, the US Open and India's campaign at the US Open came to an end after Sania Mirza and her doubles partner Barbara Strykova lost in the women's doubles quarterfinals. The Indo-Czech pair blew away a 5-2 lead in the first game before losing 6-7 to top seeds Caroline Garcia and Kristina Mladenovic. In the men's singles, top seed Novak Djokovic reached his 10th consecutive US Open semi-final after his opponent Jo-Wilfried Tsonga retired at the start of the third set. The world number 1 was leading 6-3, 6-2 before the Frenchman retired. Djokovic will next face France's 10th seed Gaël Monfils, who beat compatriot Lucas Pouille in straight sets. In the women's draw, second seed Angelique Kerber brought an end to Roberta Vinci's Flushing Meadows with a clinical 7-5, 6-0 win. Last year, finalist Vinci broke the Kerber serve 3 times in the first set, but allowed the German to break back immediately and take the set. Kerber then went on to take the second set without losing a game. Denmark's former world number 1, Caroline Wozniacki, also made it to the semi-finals with a 6-0, 6-2 win over Latvian Anastasia Svetsova. Wozniacki will face Kerber in the last 4 for a place in Saturday's final. All the other sports news now on SportsBeat. The International Cricket Council withdrew its contentious proposal of having a 2-tier test system following vehement opposition from India's cricket governing body BCCI. Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe and Bangladesh also opposed the system. Any structural change to be passed by the ICC needs a clear 2/3 majority and would have been difficult to pass this proposal as it required 7 out of 10 votes. Switzerland stunned Euro 2016 champions Portugal 2-0 in a World Cup qualifier. Breel Embolo headed Switzerland ahead in the 23rd minute before Admir Mehdi doubled the lead 6 minutes later to hand Portugal their first competitive defeat in 2 years. In another game, a Euro 2016 runners-up France were held to a goalless draw by Belarus. Formula One boss Bernie Ecclestone will stay on for 3 years after an imminent takeover of the sport by US cable TV mogul John Malone's Liberty Media. The 85-year-old, who has been credited with building the sport into a business with an annual turnover of nearly $2 billion, said that he was asked to stay on by the media house. That's all from us. Goodbye.